What we're witnessing right now is the dawn of a new medium. I'm glad that you had the opportunity to experience some of what it is that it feels like before we're having this conversation, because trying to explain to somebody what VR is like trying to, explain to somebody what an orange tastes like if you've never tasted fruit. You have to put it on. You have to experience it to understand it. What I'm going to do right now is give a brief overview of where we are in virtual reality storytelling as it relates to news today. The last quarter has been a flurry of activity around this medium. The New York Times distributed 1.3 million cardboard viewers with its Sunday paper a few months ago. The Best Use of Technology in Journalism Award for the National Press Foundation recognized the use of spherical video and game environments to tell stories as a realistic, incredible journalistic endeavor. The Knight Foundation has given a very generous grant to Frontline and the Emblematic Group, which specializes in VR storytelling, to produce some work together for future distribution. And the Newseum here in DC, with the help of Robert and Doug, who are in the room today, is preparing over the next couple of months, hopefully early this summer, to release phase one of an exhibit that acknowledges, recognizes the great work that's being done in VR storytelling by news organizations around the world. A couple of months ago, we released at South by Southwest a Knight Foundation report called Viewing the Future, Virtual Reality in Journalism, which attacks the question fundamentally of whether or not this is a new medium or is this just another round of hype. Will spherical video and 360-degree storytelling stand the test of time and live on as a way to communicate? There's a lot in this report. It's available at knightfoundation.org. If you're interested in going deeper into some of the philosophy and thought around it, there's a lot in there. What I'm going to do today is talk about the key findings of the report and some of the other work that we discuss in there. It's based in large part on a survey that was done of 10 news organizations that had worked in VR in 2015, and their responses, best practices, case studies evolved out of that. We know that there's promise. There's great storytelling potential, the opportunity to create deeper connection between your subject and your audience. The market is growing, the technology continues to emerge, and there are ad and sponsorship opportunities. These guys just brought Honda and Australian Airlines into an experience showing that there is revenue potential around this medium for news organizations as we move forward. With the promise, there are also great challenges. We've got to figure out a new narrative structure. There are ethical questions as to what you see and what you don't see, and the perspective that is offered. While the market's growing, the adoption potential is uncharted. How many of you have a Vive in your family rooms right now? Not as many as we'll have one 2 years from now, but how many will have it 2 years from now? We don't know. The production costs are still high, and while the advertising community can support other content that's being developed and distributed, this also gives them an opportunity to go direct to consumer with some pretty compelling experiences that may not necessarily bring that money into the general content creation community. One of the things that tells us that this is serious and that it does have legs is the level of investment that's been put into it in hardware and real-world applications, in education and gaming. $4 billion from 2010 to 2015. The number of investors increased 2015 over 2014. big dollars from major organizations and individuals, and including the $2 billion Facebook investment in Oculus, which has the Facebook CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, talking about virtual reality as the next great computing platform. So it's beyond, in his eyes, simply what you can see in an experience, and goes to a platform that's going to allow us not to share moments, but to share experiences as we move forward. The headsets are evolving. What we showed out there were the multiple levels of VR, from the cardboard viewer to the Gear VR. The Oculus Rift gives you a immersive look-around experience, and then some of you got to actually go into the room scale experience with the Vive, and PlayStation is releasing an upsell that will provide a headset that can work with the 37 million PlayStation 4s that are already distributed across the world today. So when we talk about adoption, this is one big step in terms of bringing VR into the console. The cameras are also evolving. Robert will talk more about that, but there's a GoPro Array, which has 6 cameras. There's a Ricoh Theta S, which is smaller than a television remote control, that shoots high quality spherical video. And then there's the $60,000 Nokia Ozo, which creates stereoscopic video that can create video experiences in that walk around environment that simulates actually being there. Facebook released 2 months ago a camera with 17 lenses and stitching software that they're going to make available on the cloud. The technology manufacturers and the investors' greatest fear right now is bad content. The best answer to that is quality content. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the storytelling. Quality content in this medium, similar in a sense to great writing or great single frame video production, but at a different level in terms of its immersion, really breaks down to 2 different areas. One is presence, giving you the sense that you are in a place that you're not, establishing presence. The second is offering perspective, the opportunity to see things or be seen or to experience an environment in ways that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do on your own or in another medium. So when we're looking at whether to tell a story in spherical video or in immersive technology, those are 2 key questions we have to ask. Why should we do it in this medium as opposed to in print or in video or in audio? It comes down to presence and perspective. Are there areas, aspects of this story that can be better told and better communicated because of the ability to offer multiple perspectives or to establish a sense of being there? And if those fall into place, you create a new type of experiential storytelling where you can take people to Mars. Some of you flew with the Blue Angels to the Malecon in Cuba, into the Savannah at the Oval Office. The Washington Post brought us there. We saw what we can do with whales, or getting ready with a star to prepare for the Oscars. NBC brought us into North Korea frontline to Ebola and the emblematic group into a war zone in Syria. A project called Waves of Grace, the New York Times partnered with a group called Verson. Worth going to download, experience this on your phones. It's a wonderfully immersive experience. This type of experiential storytelling can bring us places. Will it stick? That's a great question. You know, we're all used to the front porch being the place where at one point we could pick up a newspaper and get a cup of tea and read and pass the time, share conversation with our family and friends. But that front porch moved. into the living room, where we congregated around television, and then to our phone, where we shared news and information, utility and experiences on the phone. Then it started to go into the console. And the console is now a place where my 12-year-old son lives most of his waking hours. And the question now is, will the front porch move into the headset? Will it move into a community? Will there be ways that you can share experiences in virtual locations that are going to enable this medium to become a new front porch in the experiential storytelling world? We don't know the answers to that. We're not going to come up with any definitive conclusions in 2016. What we can do, and what the Knight Foundation report begins to identify, are benchmarks. So what we're doing this year, or last year, is establishing benchmarks in terms of identifying the amount of journalism produced, the number of applications launched, or the amount of content consolidated on existing applications, the distribution of headsets and devices, and the spend by advertisers and brands. By understanding where that is in 2015, tracking how it develops this year and next year, we're going to get a better sense of whether or not this is going to be an evolving medium, or if it's simply going to be a technology that is going to come and go.